First Contact and Alliance. The starship Horizon glided silently through the inky void, its sleek hull reflecting the distant starlight. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the viewscreen as an alien world slowly grew larger. After decades of searching, humanity had finally made first contact with an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. Entering orbit, Captain, announced Lieutenant Rodriguez from the helm. The Zephyrians are hailing us. Sarah took a deep breath, straightening her uniform. On screen, she ordered, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that looked almost, but not quite, human. The Zephyrian had pale blue skin, large, almond-shaped eyes, and delicate, feather-like structures where hair would be on a human. She smiled, revealing pearly white teeth. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, courtesy of the universal translator. "I am Ambassador Lyra. Welcome to Zephyria." Over the next few weeks, the crew of the Horizon marveled at the wonders of Zephyrian civilization. Their cities were marvels of organic architecture, with towering spires that seemed to grow from the very ground. The Zephyrians themselves were a peaceful, highly advanced species with a deep love of art, science, and philosophy. As Sarah walked through a Zephyrian garden with Ambassador Lyra, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. "Your world is beautiful," she said, watching a flock of bird-like creatures with iridescent wings flit between crystal trees. "We have so much to learn from each other." Lyra nodded, her feathers ruffling slightly in the breeze. "Indeed, Captain Chen, your species' resilience and adaptability are truly remarkable. We have watched your progress for some time, and we believe that together, we can achieve great things." The ambassador's expression grew serious. "However, there is something you must know. Our galaxy is not always a peaceful place. There are others out there, species that do not share our values of cooperation and mutual respect." Sarah frowned. "You're talking about the Vortex Empire, aren't you?" "We've heard whispers." "Yes," Lyra confirmed. "The Vortex are a militaristic species, consumed by their desire for conquest. They have subjugated many worlds, and we fear that both Earth and Zephyria may soon be in their sights." As they continued their walk, Lyra explained the nature of the Vortex threat. The Empire had been expanding for centuries, assimilating or destroying any civilization in its path. The Zephyrians, with their focus on art and science rather than military might, knew they stood little chance against such an aggressive force. "That's why we reached out to your people," Lyra concluded. "We believe that together, we can stand against the Vortex. Your innovation, combined with our advanced technology, might be the key to preserving freedom in this sector of the galaxy." Sarah nodded, her mind racing with the implications. "I'll need to contact Earth immediately. This changes everything." Over the following months, as news of the alien alliance spread across Earth, humanity threw itself into preparation. The United Earth government signed a formal treaty with Zephyria, establishing free trade and technological exchange between the two worlds. Zephyrian scientists arrived on Earth, working alongside human engineers to upgrade everything from computer systems to spacecraft. In return, humans shared their unique perspectives on problem-solving and their indomitable spirit in the face of adversity. Dr. Aisha Patel, a brilliant human physicist, found herself working closely with Zorn, a Zephyrian expert in gravitic field manipulation. Together, they made breakthrough after breakthrough, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. "It's incredible," Aisha said one day, as she and Zorn celebrated their latest success. "The way your phase inversion technology interacts with our quantum field generators, it's opening up entirely new avenues of research." Zorn's feathers rippled with excitement. "Indeed. And your species' approach to experimentation, the way you're willing to take risks, to think outside established paradigms, it's revolutionizing our own scientific methods." As the collaboration deepened, so did the friendships between humans and Zephyrians. Cultural exchanges flourished, with human art and music finding enthusiastic audiences on Zephyria, while Zephyrian philosophy and literature sparked a renaissance on Earth. But even as the alliance grew stronger, the shadow of the Vortex Empire loomed. Intelligence reports suggested that the Vortex were on the move, their massive fleet steadily making its way towards the sector containing Earth and Zephyria. In response, both worlds accelerated their military preparations. On Earth, shipyards worked around the clock, retrofitting the human fleet with Zephyrian technology. New weapons were developed, combining Earth's nuclear fusion technology with Zephyrian energy-focusing systems. Captain Chen, now promoted to Admiral, stood in the command center of Earth's new orbital defense station. Holographic displays showed the positions of human and Zephyrian ships throughout the solar system, a combined fleet greater than anything Earth had ever fielded before. "Status report," Sarah ordered, her voice calm but her eyes betraying her concern. "All systems nominal," Admiral reported her XO. "Commander Jackson. The Zephyrian energy shield is operating at peak efficiency, and our new hybrid weapons are online. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Sarah nodded, allowing herself a small smile. In just a few short years, humanity had advanced by leaps and bounds. The alliance with the Zephyrians had catapulted Earth into a new era of technological and cultural growth. Whatever the Vortex might throw at them, she was confident that together, humans and Zephyrians would find a way to prevail. As if on cue, alarms began to blare throughout the station. Commander Jackson's face paled as he studied his console. "Admiral," he said, his voice tight, "we're detecting multiple vortex signatures at the edge of the system. They're here." Sarah took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. This was the moment they had been preparing for. "Alert all commands," she ordered. "This is not a drill. The Vortex have arrived." As the combined fleet of Earth and Zephyria moved to intercept the invaders, Sarah couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. In the face of this threat, humanity had not only survived but thrived. They had reached out to the stars and found not just allies, but friends. Whatever the outcome of the coming battle, she knew that this alliance had already changed the course of history. The first shots of the war were about to be fired, and humanity was ready to prove that they were a force to be reckoned with in the galaxy. The Vortex Empire was about to learn a harsh lesson. When humanity stands united with its allies, there's no force in the universe that can stand against them. The Vortex strikes. The vast emptiness of space erupted into chaos as the Vortex fleet emerged from hyperspace. Their ships were monstrous constructs of dark metal and pulsing energy fields, dwarfing even the largest Earth-Zephyrian vessels. At the heart of the Vortex Armada loomed a massive dreadnought, its hull bristling with weapon emplacements. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice rang out across the combined fleet's comm channels. "All ships, battle formations. Remember your training and watch each other's backs. Today, we fight not just for Earth or Zephyria, but for the freedom of all sentient beings in this galaxy." The space between the fleets lit up with weapons fire. Beams of coherent light and plasma lanced out from Earth and Zephyrian ships, met by the sickly green energy bolts of the Vortex weapons. Fighters from both sides darted between the capital ships, engaged in a deadly dance of skill and reflexes. On the bridge of the EZS Defiant, a joint Earth-Zephyrian battlecruiser, Captain Jenna Ortiz gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered under enemy fire. "Evasive maneuvers," she barked. "Bring us about and target their lead destroyer." Beside her, her Zephyrian first officer, Commander Zale, coordinated the ship's defenses. His feathers were slicked back with sweat, but his voice remained calm. "Shields holding at 72%, Captain. Returning fire." The Defiant's main guns roared to life, spitting forth a salvo of hybrid torpedoes. The projectiles, combining Earth's fusion warheads with Zephyrian phase-shifting technology, punched through the Vortex destroyer's shields and detonated against its hull. The enemy ship listed, venting atmosphere and debris. But for every small victory, the Allied fleet suffered losses of their own. Vortex weapons seemed to bypass shields with terrifying efficiency, and their hulls absorbed punishment that would have destroyed any Earth or Zephyrian vessel twice over. "We've lost the Zephyrian cruiser Starfire," reported Commander Jackson from the Orbital Defense Station. "The Jakarta and Sao Paulo are heavily damaged and pulling back." Admiral Chen's jaw tightened. "Order the Themis battle group to cover their retreat. We need to buy time for the civilians to evacuate." On Zephyria's surface, panic gripped the population as the battle raged in orbit. The peaceful species had never experienced war on this scale, and their cities were ill-prepared for the possibility of orbital bombardment. Ambassador Lyra coordinated with Earth's diplomatic corps to manage the evacuation. "We need more ships," she pleaded, her usual composure cracking under the strain. "There are millions still in the cities." Back on the Defiant, Captain Ortiz and Commander Zale fought with everything they had. Their ship danced through the battlefield, guns blazing, taking out vortex fighters and scoring hits on larger vessels. But the relentless assault was taking its toll. "Hull breach on Deck 4, Zale reported, his fingers flying over his console. "Emergency force fields are holding. But we can't take much more of this." Jenna nodded grimly. "Divert power from non-essential systems to the shields. We need tow." Her words were cut off as a massive energy blast from the Vortex Dreadnought lanced past them, striking Zephyria's northern continent. The planet's surface bloomed with fire, and anguished cries filled the comm channels. "No," Zale cried out, his composure finally breaking. "They're targeting civilian centers." Admiral Chen's voice crackled over the fleet-wide channel, tight with barely controlled fury. "All ships with functional weapons, concentrate fire on that dreadnought. We need to take out their main gun before they can fire again." The Allied fleet regrouped, pouring everything they had into a desperate assault on the Vortex flagship. But it seemed to shrug off their attacks, its dark hull absorbing or deflecting their most powerful weapons. On Earth, Dr. Aisha Patel and her Zephyrian colleagues, Zorn, worked feverishly in their lab, analyzing data from the battle. "There's got to be a weakness," Aisha muttered, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "Every technology has a flaw. We just need to find it." Zorn nodded, his feathers drooping with exhaustion. "Perhaps if we modulate the phase variance of our shield penetrators. But no, the power requirements would be astronomical." As they worked, reports continued to stream in from the battlefield. The Vortex were slowly but surely pushing back the Allied forces, their seemingly invincible ships forming an ever-tightening noose around Zephyria. Admiral Chen made the hardest decision of her career. "We can't hold them," she announced to the fleet. "All ships, initiate Protocol Omega. I repeat, initiate Protocol Omega." A collective gasp went up from the human and Zephyrian crews. Protocol Omega was the last-ditch evacuation plan, abandoning Zephyria to save as many lives as possible. On the Defiant, Captain Ortiz felt her heart sink. "You heard the Admiral," she said, her voice heavy. "Set course for the designated rally point. We'll cover the evacuation transports." Commander Zale stared at the view screen, watching as his homeworld grew smaller. Fires raged across its surface where vortex weapons had struck. "All those people," he whispered. "All our history, our art, our knowledge." Jenna placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We'll come back," she promised. "This isn't over." As the Allied fleet retreated, the Vortex ships moved into orbit around Zephyria. Their victory seemed complete, the once beautiful world now a prize to be stripped and assimilated into their ever-growing empire. But even in retreat, the human-Zephyrian alliance showed its strength. Earth ships formed a protective screen around the Zephyrian evacuation craft, taking hits meant for the vulnerable transports. Zephyrian vessels used their advanced maneuverability to run interference, drawing vortex fire away from their allies. Admiral Chen watched from her command station as the last of the Allied ships jumped to hyperspace. Her face was etched with lines of grief and determination. "Get me a secure channel to Earth," she ordered. "We need to prepare for the refugees, and we need to start planning our counterattack." As the remnants of the fleet limped towards Earth, carrying with them the survivors of Zephyria, a grim resolve settled over both species. They had lost this battle, but the war was far from over. Humanity and their Zephyrian allies had been bloodied, but they were unbowed. In labs and war rooms across Earth, minds both human and alien were already at work, analyzing the battle data, searching for weaknesses in Vortex technology. The next time they met, they would be ready. And in the darkness of space, as the Defiant led a group of battered but defiant ships back home, Captain Ortiz made a silent vow. They would avenge Zephyria. They would free every world under the Vortex yoke. And they would show the galaxy that when humanity and its allies stood together, no force could stand against them. The Vortex had won this round, but they had also done something incredibly dangerous. They had given humanity a reason to show the universe what they were truly capable of when pushed to the brink. Regrouping and innovation. The sky over Earth's major cities was filled with the contrails of descending spacecraft. Millions of Zephyrian refugees, their lives uprooted by the Vortex invasion, were arriving on humanity's homeworld. The loss of Zephyria had shaken both species to their core, but in the face of this tragedy, the human spirit of compassion shone brightly. In New Shanghai, Dr. Aisha Patel stood at the spaceport, watching as exhausted Zephyrian families disembarked from their rescue ships. Her colleague Zorn was by her side, his feathers drooping with fatigue and grief. "I can't believe it's gone," Zorn whispered, his normally melodic voice hoarse with emotion. "Our entire world." Aisha squeezed his shoulder gently. "Not everything is lost," she said, her voice firm with conviction. "Your people survive. Your knowledge, your culture, it lives on in each of you. And I swear to you, we will find a way to take back your home." As the refugees were processed and given temporary housing, the leaders of Earth and the remaining Zephyrian government convened an emergency summit. The United Earth Council chamber was packed, with holographic representations of officials from around the globe and surviving Zephyrian elders filling every available space. Admiral Sarah Chen, her uniform still bearing scorch marks from the battle, addressed the assembly. "The Vortex believe they've won," she said, her voice ringing out clear and determined. "They think that by taking Zephyria, they'd broken our will to fight, but they don't understand what they've done. They've united us like never before, and now we have nothing left to lose." Ambassador Lyra, her usual grace tempered by steel resolve, spoke next. "My people have always been peaceful. We believe that art, science, and diplomacy could solve any problem. But now we see that there are those in the universe who only understand strength. So we will become strong, not for conquest, but for justice." Over the following months, Earth became a crucible of innovation and determination. Refugee camps transformed into hubs of joint human-Zephyrian research and development. The trauma of loss galvanized both species into action, pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. In a repurposed warehouse in Detroit, Captain Jenna Ortiz and Commander Zale oversaw the retrofit of salvaged ships. Human ingenuity combined with Zephyrian technical expertise, resulting in hybrid vessels that incorporated the best of both worlds. "If we can increase the power to the phase shift generators," Zale mused, examining a holographic schematic, "we might be able to match the Vortex's shield penetration capabilities." Jenna nodded, her eyes alight with possibilities. "And what if we combine that with our new fusion pulse weapons, hit them hard enough to overload their systems, then slip right through their defenses?" Across the globe, similar scenes played out. In Bangalore, Dr. Patel and Zorn made a breakthrough in understanding Vortex energy signatures. Their work led to the development of a new type of sensor array capable of detecting Vortex ships at unprecedented ranges. "It's not just about fighting back," Aisha explained to a group of eager students, human and Zephyrian alike. "It's about understanding our enemy. Every piece of technology tells a story about the culture that created it. If we can decode that story, we can find their weaknesses." In orbit, the shipyards worked tirelessly. The lessons learned from the Battle of Zephyria were incorporated into new vessel designs. Sleek, agile craft that combined Earth's robust engineering with Zephyrian elegance took shape in the vacuum of space. Admiral Chen, overseeing the construction from her new flagship, the easy as Phoenix, allowed herself a small smile of pride. "We're not just rebuilding our fleet," she told her staff. "We're redefining what a fleet can be." But it wasn't just military technology that saw advancements. The influx of Zephyrian knowledge catalyzed progress in fields ranging from medicine to environmental science. Hospitals saw the implementation of Zephyrian healing techniques that dramatically improved recovery rates. Zephyrian atmospheric purification systems, adapted for Earth's unique ecology, began to reverse centuries of pollution in major cities. In the mountains of Peru, a joint team worked on perhaps the most ambitious project of all. Led by a brilliant human physicist, Dr. Miguel Reyes, and his Zephyrian counterpart, Essence of Starlight, they sought to unravel the secrets of vortex faster than light travel. "If we can disrupt their FTL capabilities," Miguel explained to a visiting Admiral Chen, "we can isolate their forces, divide their empire. It could be the key to victory." Essence of Starlight nodded, her feathers shimmering with excitement. "And more than that, it could revolutionize our own travel capabilities. Imagine being able to evacuate an entire planet in hours, or deploy relief to disaster-stricken worlds in minutes." As the months turned into a year, and then two, the face of Earth changed. Zephyrian architecture blended with human cities, creating structures of breathtaking beauty and unparalleled functionality. The two species, once separated by light years, now lived and worked side by side, their cultures intertwining in ways no one could have predicted. But beneath the surface of this progress, a current of tension ran. Everyone knew that the vortex would not be content with Zephyria. It was only a matter of time before they set their sights on Earth. In a secure bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Chen met with the Earth Council and Zephyrian leadership. The room was dominated by a massive holographic display showing the known positions of vortex forces. "They're consolidating their hold on Zephyria," Chen explained, her face grim. "But our long-range sensors are picking up signs of a massive buildup. We estimate they'll be ready to launch their next major offensive within 6 months." Ambassador Lyra, her once vibrant feathers now streaked with gray, spoke up. "Then we must be ready before then. We cannot allow them to gain a foothold in this system." The human president nodded in agreement. "We've made incredible strides, but are we truly ready to take on the full might of the Vortex Empire?" Admiral Chen's eyes blazed with determination. "Ready or not, we'll have to be. But I have faith in what we've built here. Together, humans and Zephyrians have achieved more in 2 years than either of our species did in centuries alone. We're not just fighting for survival anymore. We're fighting for a future brighter than anything we could have imagined before." As the meeting concluded and plans were set in motion, a sense of anticipation settled over Earth. The coming conflict would determine not just the fate of 2 species, but potentially the course of galactic history. In labs and factories, on ships and in training grounds, humans and Zephyrians worked with renewed vigor. They were no longer separate peoples united by circumstance, but a single force tempered by shared hardship and driven by a common purpose. The vortex had thought to break them. Instead, they had forged an alloy stronger than either of its component parts. And soon, very soon, the Empire would learn the true cost of underestimating the combined might of humanity and its stalwart allies. As night fell over a transformed Earth, millions of eyes, human and Zephyrian alike, turned to the stars. Out there, amid the cosmic tapestry, their enemy waited. But so did their future, a future they would seize with both hands, no matter the cost. Counterattack preparations. The cavernous hangar of the lunar base Echo buzzed with activity. Rows of sleek, hybrid fighters lined the deck, their hulls a seamless blend of human and Zephyrian design. Captain Jenna Ortiz strode down the line, her experienced eyes scrutinizing each craft. "Looking good, Chief," she said to the head engineer, a burly human named Kojima. "How are the new phase shift drives holding up?" Kojima grinned, wiping grease from his hands. "Like a dream, Captain. These babies can dance through vortex fire like it's not even there." Nearby, Commander Zale was leading a group of mixed human Zephyrian pilot trainees through a briefing. His feathers, once a uniform pale blue, now sported streaks of iridescent green, a mark of respect among his people for those who had faced battle. "Remember," Zale emphasized, his voice carrying across the hangar, "the key to defeating the vortex is unpredictability. They rely on overwhelming force and rigid tactics. Our advantage lies in our diversity, our ability to adapt on the fly." As Jen approached the group, a young human pilot raised her hand. "Sir, is it true that we'll be flying alongside AI-assisted drones?" Jenna nodded, stepping in. "That's right, Lieutenant. Dr. Patel and her team have developed a neural network that can predict vortex maneuvers with 89% accuracy. These drones will act as our force multipliers, allowing us to match the vortex's numbers." The announcement sent a ripple of excitement through the trainees. It was just one of many innovations born from the crucible of human-Zephyrian cooperation. Miles below the lunar surface, in a heavily shielded laboratory, Dr. Aisha Patel and Zorn were putting the finishing touches on perhaps their most ambitious project yet. "Power levels stable," Zorn reported, his feathers quivering with anticipation. "Quantum entanglement matrix is holding." Aisha nodded, her fingers flying over a holographic interface. "Initiating test sequence. Now." A low hum filled the lab as a spherical device in the center of the room began to glow. Suddenly, with a flash of blue-white light, a small object on a nearby pedestal simply vanished. For a moment, there was silence. Then, a chime from Aisha's console. "Signal received," she breathed, her eyes wide. It worked. It actually worked. Zorn let out a trilling sound of joy, a rare display of emotion from the usually reserved Zephyrian. The first successful long-range teleportation. "Do you realize what this means?" Aisha nodded, her mind racing with possibilities. "We can deploy troops instantly to any location, evacuate civilians from danger zones in seconds, maybe even teleport warheads directly into vortex ships," Zorn finished, his voice a mix of awe and trepidation. The weight of their discovery settled over them. Like so many advancements born from this war, their work was a double-edged sword, a tool of salvation that could just as easily become a weapon of unimaginable destruction. In orbit around Mars, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the EZS Phoenix, watching as the combined fleet ran through battle simulations. The void of space was filled with holographic projections of vortex ships, allowing the Allied forces to practice their new tactics in near-real conditions. "Themis Squadron, tighten up your formation," she ordered, her voice calm but authoritative. "Zephyrian cruisers, remember to utilize your phase shifting to cover the human dreadnoughts during their weapons charge cycle." As she observed the fleet's maneuvers, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at how far they'd come. Ships that would have been sitting ducks against vortex weapons 2 years ago now danced through enemy fire, their advanced shields flickering as they absorbed and redirected energy. Her second-in-command, a Zephyrian named Lyrix, approached with a datapad. "Admiral, we've just received word from Earth. The Council has given final approval for Operation Starburst." Sarah nodded grimly. The plan to retake Zephyria was ambitious, perhaps even reckless. But after 2 years of preparation, of pouring every resource into this moment, they were as ready as they'd ever be. "Send word to all commands," she ordered. "We launch in 72 hours. As the message spread throughout the fleet, a palpable sense of anticipation built. For the humans, this was a chance to protect their home and prove their worth as a galactic power. For the Zephyrians, it was an opportunity to reclaim their lost world and avenge their fallen. Back on Earth, final preparations were underway. In cities around the globe, Zephyrian refugees, and their human hosts gathered in mixed communities, holding vigils and offering prayers to a multitude of gods and cosmic forces. In Washington, D.C., the human president addressed a joint session of the Earth Council and Zephyrian Provisional Government. 2 years ago, we faced our darkest hour, she began, her voice carried to billions across the planet and throughout the solar system. We watched as a peaceful world burned, as an entire civilization was driven from their homes. But in that darkness, we found a light. She paused, looking out over the assembly of humans and Zephyrians. We found strength in unity, hope in cooperation. Together, we have achieved wonders that neither of our species could have dreamed of alone. And now, we stand ready to challenge those who thought to break us. Ambassador Lyra stepped forward, her aged but still regal form a testament to the resilience of her people. To the Vortex, we say this: you may have taken our world, but you did not take our spirit. You sought to extinguish our light, but instead you have ignited a flame that will burn across the galaxy. As the speech concluded, cheers erupted from the assembled leaders and from crowds gathered around view screens across Earth and its colonies. The long night of preparation was ending. The dawn of liberation was at hand. In the final hours before the fleet's departure, individuals across the Allied forces found moments of quiet reflection. Captain Jenna Ortiz sat in her quarters aboard her new command, the battlecruiser EZS Defiant, looking at a holo image of Earth. "We'll keep you safe," she whispered to the blue marble that had been humanity's cradle. "No matter what it takes." On the lunar base, Dr. Patel and Zorn made last-minute adjustments to the quantum teleportation device, now installed in key ships across the fleet. Their eyes met, a silent understanding passing between them. Their work could change the course of the war, but at what cost? And on the bridge of the Phoenix, Admiral Chen stood alone, watching as Mars fell away, and the fleet began to form up. In her mind's eye, she could see the Vortex Armada waiting for them, the burned husk of Zephyria hanging in the balance. "This is Admiral Chen to all ships," she broadcast, her voice steady and resolute. "Our course is set. Our purpose is clear. Together, we carry the hopes of 2 worlds and the future of countless others. Whatever happens, know that this day, we make history. As one, the greatest fleet ever assembled by human or Zephyrian hands engaged their engines. In a flash of blue-white light, they vanished into the depths of space, racing towards a confrontation that would determine the fate of not just 2 species, but of freedom throughout the galaxy. The counterattack had begun, and the universe would never be the same. The final battle. The vast emptiness of space erupted into chaos as the combined human-Zephyrian fleet dropped out of FTL on the outskirts of the Zephyrian system. The peaceful home of the Zephyrians, once a jewel of art and science, now bristled with vortex weaponry and swarms of enemy ships. Admiral Sarah Chen's voice rang out across the Allied comm channels. "All ships, battle formations. Remember your training. Remember why we're here. Today, we fight not just for Zephyria, but for the future of all free beings in this galaxy." On the bridge of the EZS Defiant, Captain Jenna Ortiz felt a surge of adrenaline as she called out, "Shields up, weapons hot. Let's show these vortex bastards what happens when you mess with our friends." Commander Zale, at her side, added with grim determination, "For Zephyria. For Earth. For freedom." The space between the fleets lit up with weapons fire. Beams of coherent light and plasma lanced out from Earth and Zephyrian ships, met by the sickly green energy bolts of the vortex weapons. But this time, something was different. The Allied ships danced through the vortex barrages, their new phase shift technology allowing them to become partially intangible at crucial moments. Dr. Aisha Patel and Zorn, monitoring the battle from a secure command center on Earth, watched with bated breath as their innovations were put to the test. "The quantum targeting system is online," Aisha reported. "Teleportation matrices charged and ready." Zorn nodded, his feathers rippling with tension. "Let's hope it's enough." Back in the thick of battle, Fighters piloted by humans and Zephyrians alike wove intricate patterns through the void, their movements guided by the predictive AI that anticipated vortex maneuvers. For every Allied ship lost, 3 vortex vessels erupted into silent explosions. Admiral Chen, standing resolute on the bridge of the Phoenix, watched as the tide of battle slowly began to turn. "Now," she ordered, "initiate Operation Starburst." Across the fleet, specially equipped ships activated their quantum teleportation devices. In flashes of blue-white light, squads of elite troops materialized directly aboard key vortex vessels. The enemy, caught completely off guard by this impossible tactic, found themselves fighting desperately to repel boarders that seemed to appear out of thin air. On the Vortex flagship, a mixed team of human and Zephyrian special forces fought their way towards the bridge. Captain Maya Hernandez, her armor scorched by enemy fire, turned to her Zephyrian counterpart, Starweaver. "How are you holding up, Feathers?" Starweaver, firing a burst from his energy rifle, managed a grim smile. "Never better, smooth skin. Though I'll feel a lot better once we take control of this monstrosity." As the Allied forces pressed their advantage, the Vortex began to show signs of disarray. Their rigid command structure, accustomed to overwhelming force and unwavering obedience, struggled to adapt to the fluid, unpredictable nature of the human Zephyrian assault. But the Vortex were far from defeated. Their Dreadnoughts, massive vessels that dwarfed even the largest Allied ships, began to power up their main weapons, planet killers capable of reducing worlds to ash. "They're targeting Zephyria," Zale cried out on the Defiance bridge. "They'll destroy the planet rather than let us reclaim it." Captain Ortiz's eyes narrowed. "Not on our watch. All power to engines. We're going to ram that bastard if we have to." The Defiant, along with a squadron of other ships, raced towards the nearest Vortex Dreadnought. But it seemed they wouldn't make it in time. The massive weapon began to glow with unholy energy, preparing to unleash devastation. At that moment, Dr. Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "Admiral, we're ready. Permission to deploy the Nexus Protocol." Admiral Chen hesitated for only a split second. The Nexus Protocol was their ultimate weapon, untested in real combat conditions. Its power could be their salvation or their doom. "Do it," she ordered. Across the battlefield, quantum entanglement devices activated simultaneously. Space itself seemed to ripple and fold. Suddenly, Allied ships found themselves teleported into new positions, directly in the line of fire of Vortex vessels, but facing their unshielded rear sectors. At the same time, Vortex ships were displaced, their carefully coordinated formations shattered in an instant. The Dreadnought preparing to fire on Zephyria suddenly found itself facing the combined firepower of a dozen Allied capital ships. Before it could reorient, its weapon ports were obliterated in a storm of concentrated fire. The battle devolved into chaos, but it was a chaos that favored the Allies. Human ingenuity and adaptability, combined with Zephyrian precision and foresight, allowed them to take full advantage of the constantly shifting tactical situation. Aboard the Vortex flagship, Captain Hernandez and Starweaver finally fought their way onto the bridge. "Your empire ends today," Maya declared to the stunned Vortex commander. "Surrender, and you may yet survive this." As the flagship fell, a ripple effect spread through the Vortex fleet. Ships began to lose cohesion, their attacks becoming desperate and uncoordinated. Some vessels attempted to flee, only to be cut off by perfectly predicted Allied maneuvers. Hours later, as the last Vortex ship was disabled or destroyed, an eerie silence fell over the battlefield. The void was littered with debris, the aftermath of the largest space battle in known galactic history. Admiral Chen's voice, tired but triumphant, addressed the fleet. "We've done it. Zephyria is free. The Vortex threat is neutralized. To every being who fought today, human, Zephyrian, and all others who stood with us, you have my deepest gratitude and respect. We have written a new chapter in the story of our peoples." As the Allied fleet moved into orbit around Zephyria, the true scope of their victory became clear. It wasn't just a military triumph. It was a victory of cooperation, of two species coming together to overcome impossible odds. In the days and weeks that followed, the work of rebuilding began. Zephyrian refugees started returning to their homeworld, joined by human allies eager to help restore what had been lost. The scars left by the Vortex occupation would take years to heal, but there was a sense of hope and possibility that had been absent for far too long. On Earth, celebrations erupted in every city. Humans and Zephyrians embraced in the streets, their joy transcending the boundaries of species. The victory had proven that together, they were capable of miracles. As Captain Ortiz stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching the sunrise over Zephyria for the first time in years, she felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Commander Zale stood beside her, his feathers gleaming in the golden light. "What now?" Zale asked softly. Jenna smiled, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Now we build something new, something better than either of us could have imagined alone." As dawn broke over a liberated Zephyria, it heralded not just the end of a war, but the beginning of a new era. Humanity and the Zephyrians had faced their greatest challenge and emerged stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The stars, once a source of fear and conflict, now beckoned with the promise of exploration, discovery, and a shared destiny. Together, they would face whatever challenges the universe had in store, knowing that there was no force in existence that could stand against the combined strength of their alliance. The future, bright with possibility, awaited.